Timcast IRL will be live in Miami with Patrick Bet David, Donald Trump Jr., Matt Gaetz, and Luke Rudkowski. Join us there. Get your tickets by clicking the link in the description below or by going to timcast.com. We have this tweet from Scott Adams. Yeah. This story, as Dave says, is wild. Scott Adams tweeted July 1st, 2020, if Biden is elected, there's a good chance he will be dead within the year. Republicans will be hunted. Police will stand down. On September 30th, Josh Kruger says, the Dilbert dude is like Nostradamus. Look at this prediction from 2020. Wow, eerie. Making fun of Scott Adams for having made that point. And then we have this story from Timcast.com. Journalist shot 7 times in Philadelphia home. Josh Kruger was killed in his home on Monday. Yo, that's crazy. So this is actually what this is. He was killed today. Is that it? I thought it was 1 a.m.
Jeez. Wow.
So this guy who was just mocking Scott Adams over his prediction about this stuff was shot and killed in his own home. I think the news is that there was no sign of a break-in. He had mocked and argued with critics expressing concern of a rising crime in Philadelphia.
Yeah, he made fun of people who weren't taking COVID seriously, and he said COVID is more of a serious threat than the urban violence that's happening all throughout the United States. And he was pretty much ridiculing a lot of people who were taking it seriously, as I think if you live in a major city, you should be taking survival and personal protection very seriously.
I think you might want to consider not being there, but let's. Here's one tweet. He says, look, it's that lawless land of liberals in Philly where shootings are dropping to levels not seen in years. Here's another one. Bro, speak for your block, not mine. It isn't ruined. The city isn't ruined. And just because Larry Krasner keeps winning in landslides doesn't mean Philly is a heap of cinders and ash, no matter how much people say. Like the rest of this country, we are dealing with upticks in crime. The crazy thing is, I saw these tweets. I don't know when he posted this one, but I remember seeing people retweeting this before he died.
Yeah, it's not too long ago. I think they were in August.
Right. I remember when these tweets were going on, people were saying, like, are you crazy? Like, you're not considering what the people need. This dude was killed in his own home. In Baltimore, we had the story of that tech CEO who was found beaten to death on her roof by a guy who only a few days earlier had tortured a couple. He broke into their house, tied them up, raped the woman, set them both on fire. Police knew he did it, and they said nothing. And then he killed again, and then they came and said, okay, this is getting serious. These are the things that are happening in our cities. And don't get me wrong, these things happen, crime happens, all this stuff happens, but it is just, I don't know what you'd call it, shocking coincidence or whatever, that this guy has been defending the positions that Democrats have taken that have led to this increase in crime. He has mocked people who feared that you would be seriously harmed by police standing down, and he lost his life.
Dude, do you know how many people I knew at the height of COVID, in the summer of love, when everybody was rampaging through everything and they're ransacking all the streets and all of that shit? How many Hollywood liberals that I knew that were all day long for the previous 5 years ranting and raving about gun rights, who were calling me and other people that I knew on where can we buy guns?
Yep.
Where can we? I have a friend who would never want me to be named, but like a big time celebrity person who I knew, could get guns, right? And everybody was trying to. It doesn't even matter the gender of this person, but they were inundated with the amount of people, because when push comes to shove, it's a conservative is just a liberal mugged by reality.
I think this guy actually had a gun. Is that possible in Philly, or is it?
Yeah, no, he said in another Twitter thread that he had a gun, and a guy had previously broken into his house, and he didn't get the gun. He figured out another way of escalating it, even though the guy was standing in his bedroom or something.
Yeah, this is where the story gets a little deeper. Like on face value, you're like, random violence maybe. But in reality, this guy has had a history with drugs, drug abuse, and like what David, you were just saying, he at some point in April of this year or some other year had woke up and a guy was in his room and he's like, what are you doing here? Some guy he used to know. How'd he get in? I must have given him a key maybe. He didn't even remember giving a guy a key to his house. So this is the guy who at 1:30 in the morning with no sign of a break-in gets shot in his own apartment. Like, who are those people? How did they get in if there's no break-in? And I don't know that the no break-in is definitely confirmed. Did you confirm that or not?
I don't know.
I just didn't see any signs of a break-in. No one mentioned any kind of breaking and entering. So 1:30 in the morning, guy shot 7 times in his own room, has a history of giving his key out to people and not remembering it. And history of drug
that's just an excuse because it happened and he didn't want to come out and be like, yeah, but conservatives. I got to say, when David Hogg said, when they were getting rid of the mask mandates, and he says, yeah, but I don't want to take it off because then people think I'm a Republican. Yeah. Like, these are the people who would rather allow someone to break into their home and kill them then admit conservatives were right.
He actually tweeted that he was ready to die or something like, I guess I'll die then, or something like
Who,
that.
David Hogg?
No, Josh Kruger.
This guy.
I don't know. I glanced at it earlier. I didn't save the location of the tweet, but if you scroll down his feed, maybe it's there. It's tough to talk about because the guy did just die, so we got to be a little sensitive about the loss
But
of
that's the
life.
thing, you know. So Mike Cernovich had some tweets out recently about how if Biden wins, he says, have you had the talk? Something about, have you had the talk with your family about how you'll be framed for a crime so they can kill you or whatever? And I'm like, a bit aggressive. I don't completely, I should say I don't disagree with Mike, just a bit aggressive. And my response was, people don't understand what happens to a country when they begin arresting their political opposition and lawyers. So I think there's a normalcy bias. People don't want to believe it. And that's why I like to do the time travel test. Go back, insert X amount of years, and tell people everything that happened today. They won't believe you. You go back 6 years and say Donald Trump will be indicted. They'll go after his lawyers. They'll indict his lawyers. They'll start issuing fines and $200,000 on lawyers who argued on his behalf in the election. People are going to be like, shut up. That'll never happen in this country. Mention January 6th to someone 6-7 years ago, and they're going to be like, oh, shut up. That won't happen. That's crazy.
Yeah, there's a
and
viral,
here we are.
The viral video of the mayor of Chicago in 72.
Oh, yeah, we played it on my show today.
He was saying that looters, you shoot looters to kill them, or arsonists, you shoot them to kill, looters, you shoot to maim. And this is just the governor, or the governor.
No, he was the mayor of Chicago. Think about how that city
Daley?
has fallen. No, it was someone can grab his name. I think he was the mayor in about 72. You guys remember? We'll get it.
Yeah.
But it's a great video. It's like you're watching a competent executive be like, I'll defend the free people of my city, the people who are doing it right, instead of defending the looters and the arsonists and everyone else. And also saying, in essence, we believe we live in a society, to quote George Costanza. Like, we either live in a society or we don't.
But this is why I am optimistic. Look, man.
Yeah, it was Mayor Daley.
It was Mayor Daley?
Yeah,
Yeah,
1968.
Wow.
Because I'm pretty sure the Dailies ran Chicago forever. But look, man, when they're aborting their kids, when they're sterilizing their kids, when they would rather...
There'll be none of them left. I
They
think.
won't, exactly.
Yeah.
They won't defend themselves. They won't advocate for the defense. And they will advocate for the machine that hates them. I'm just like, if you got a guy who says, no guns, no guns. Oh, someone broke into my house. Don't worry, I still don't need guns. It's like, well, this dude is not likely to have kids. And I'm not, you got to zoom out. It's not about what one person does or doesn't do. It's about what most people do, and even to tiny, tiny degrees. If 50.01% of liberals engage in behaviors that result in them having no kids, they're going to slowly cease to exist, and their ideology will go along with them.
I hope, but communism's been around for a long time.
Yeah, and also if you factor in, like, China using TikTok to brainwash a generation of Americans, it's not as simple as just pure like numbers in terms of who's giving birth. There is an ideological war being waged on children that are converting, right?
I agree, but I do think I still think having kids is 10 to 100 times more impactful than social manipulation. Social manipulation plays a large role, but there's inverse social reaction, right? So libertarians, conservatives, post-liberals coming out and saying no to this stuff in school, no to TikTok, get your kids off social media, homeschool your kids. That counterforce, to a certain degree, will negate the effect of China or whatever social manipulation we're experiencing. You add to that mix, they're literally advocating for things that put their lives in danger or inhibit them from having children. I think in 20 years, you got a 2-to-1 Republican advantage.
I hope you're right, man. How often do you dole out white pills these days?
That I've been saying this thing for a couple of years, and people argue that I'm wrong, and I'm like, because they make the point you made, and I'm like, I agree they're trying to indoctrinate kids, but when you look at what Florida did with the books, saying like, when DeSantis did that press conference where he's like, look at these books, look at what was in these books,
and then cut
Nikki
the feed.
Fried said Ron DeSantis posting butt plug porn, and it's like, he's criticizing you. That right there, as a governor, exposing this and giving them no recourse because all she could do is admit it, that's waking people up. Like, yes, there are a lot of conservatives. It's funny when they come to Timcast IRL Studios and they're like, they say, oh, my kid's going to college next. And I'm like, which one? And they're like, oh, NYU. And I'm like, are you insane?
Yeah. No.
Like, do you watch the show you're about to be on?
Maybe University of Chicago. That's pretty much it. Do
you guys
a couple others?
Do you talk publicly about how you guys want to raise the kids?
In terms of schooling?
Yeah, stuff like that.
It's funny. Not really, but I would say just sort of generally speaking, I mean, first off, we're in Florida where we have really some of the best public schools in the United States. And it's ironic because, 20 years ago when Florida was thought of as the Golden Girls and this is where everyone goes to retire and there's no income tax, there were bad schools here because older people didn't want to put money towards it and there just wasn't an income tax in the first place. Now we have basically the best schools in the nation. Just because of my public nature, I don't think we'll send them to public school. But regardless, the idea that you just hand your kid off to some state employee and that they could call your son by the opposite gender name, they can make up a name and then hide it from you. And the whole fucking machine was like, DeSantis is the bad guy for fighting this is so bananas.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.